We're going to begin now a brand new Sichah, part of the project called the Sichos. This Sichah is printed in volume 20, Chelik Chaf, Bereishis, Sichah 1, first Sichah. The Rebbe starts off in Aleph, if Bereishis bar Likim, rank Rashi the Maimer from the Yitzchak, concerning the pasuk that says Bereishis bar Likim, in the beginning Hashem created. So Rashi brings the Maimer of Rabbi Yitzchak, that in truth, the Torah should have started from the Parsha of HaChedesh HaZalachem, which speaks about Kiddush HaChedesh. So what's the reason why the Torah starts with telling us the chronological order of how the world was created? What's the reason why the Torah starts with Bereishis? Mishum koyach ma'isiv higi la'amay losis lahem nachlas goyim. The reason why is because Hashem wants to convey the message of the pasuk that the power of his act he told to his people to give them the estate of Eretz Yisrael. When his mevar, and Rashi explains, as a mitfar enfert min the taine from Umas Eilam, with this we can answer the complaint that the goyim have, that the goyim complain, listem atem, that you Yidden are bandits, you robbers, shekavashtem artzis shivas goyim heim. So Imrim lahem kol arsha kadosh baruch hu bara v'nosnon la'asher yasher me'enav. So this answers the taina that the world complains we're bandits, for you conquered the land of the 7 nations of Canaan. So this pasuk tells us, and the Yidden will answer, that the entire earth belongs to the Eibishter. He created it, and he gave it to the one who is proper in his eyes. So Rashi says, so the reason why the Torah starts with Bereishis bar Likim is because we have to understand how the world was created, and with this we can understand Hashem created the world, Adam, and then eventually the Eibishter gave it to the Yidden. So in truth, the reason why Eretz Yisrael belongs to us because Hashem gave us from day one. So it's not like when people say, "Oh, you're giving back land." It's not we're giving back land. The land always belonged to Eretz Yisrael, and anyone who knows and is honest about history knows that Eretz Yisrael always belonged to us Yidden. That's why, if I should say this on record, but if you're not a religious Jew, if you don't believe in Torah, why should Eretz Yisrael belong to us? The only reason why Eretz Yisrael belongs to us to make sense is because of what the Torah says. Okay, fine. So the Rebbe says, from the fact that Rashi uses the nuance, he says that the Torah did not have to start from Bereishis. And what's the reason why it started from Bereishis? Now, Nidvi de Lashon was stated not like the Medrash says. What does the Medrash say? The Torah did not have to write the whole sequence of Bereishis. And then the Medrash says, okay, so why Bechlal does the Torah tell us about Bereishis? Now, Rashi doesn't say that. Rashi doesn't say that the Torah shouldn't have not written Bechlal about Bereishis. Rashi is saying, why does the Torah Bechlal start with Bereishis? So what's the Rebbe saying? It's mashma. As the Shaila in dem Maimers, not as the Parshas from Bereishis bis HaChedesh haben Bechlal Nikedar stehen in Torah. Not that what Rashi is saying is that from Parshas Bereishis till HaChedesh, Torah shouldn't have said anything. In other words, till Parshas Boy. Nor, as they have a nit Kedar Zayin, that only from Torah. What Rashi is saying is that this did not have to be the beginning of Torah. But as Chalas HaTorah had Kedar Zayin from HaChedesh HaZalachem. The beginning of the Torah should have been from Parshas Boy, which speaks about the mitzvah of Kiddush HaChedesh.
It's not for the creation of the Jews. It's not for the creation of the Jews. Chodesh is the first mitzvah that solidifies the Jews as the nation.
Oh, you're saying why HaChedesh and not...
why not Matan Torah?
Right, or why not Bechal? The Yidden were commanded about Bris, they were commanded about...
other things. It's not, that's when they became a Chodesh Zalachem, is the first mitzvah of them.
Right, so some of us want to say, that's also one answer, some of us want to say is because these mitzvahs were commanded to individuals. The first mitzvah that was commanded to Klal Yisrael was HaChedesh HaZalachem, yeah. Okay, now when we bald as the tiritz if their shaila is. Now what's the answer of this? What's the answer to this question? Why does the Torah Taka start with Bereishis? Because if the goyim, if the non-Jews are going to complain, are going to have a taina that you stole Eretz Yisrael. Okay, so now kumtes ask the zu shel sein zer taina listem atem chuli. So in order to negate the goyim's taina that listem atem is nit genug as Bereishis barley kim vet stein ergets vun Torah. So it's not enough that the Parsha Bereishis should stay in the middle of the Torah. Nor das dar sein die haschala von Torah. It's very important that the beginning of Torah should start with Bereishis. Why? Because of the taina of the goyim. So the Rebbe says it's to more. We have to understand. Afilu Bereishis volt gestanden noch hachedish volt man echt gewusst der Indien as kol haaretz shel HaKadosh Baruch He bra who bra nasne chuli. Even if, let's say, the Parshas Bereishis would have been, let's say, in the beginning, the whole chronological order of how the world was created and how Noach had children and gave it over to Shem, and were descendants of Shem, etc. So, if that would have, let's say, stayed in the middle of the Torah, it would but also answer the time of the Goyim. So the Rebbe's question is for was voltmenes nid given kein tirutz maspik. So why is that not good enough when it's darf gezayin pasach bereishis? It's so important that the Torah has to begin with Bereishis in order for what? To negate the taina of the goyim. So that's the deal. That's what we're saying in Aleph. That the reason why the Torah starts, like Rashi says, with Bereishis and not Hachedish, is to negate the taina of the goyim who claim that we stole Eretz Yisrael. So what Rashi is saying is not that the Torah should have not written Bereishis and rather start from Parshas Boy. But why does the Torah start with Bereishis? Is to negate the taina of the goyim. Now, and what's the answer? That if the goyim are going to say listem atem, which means that it would have not. It's not enough to be shadul the taina of the goyim by bechlal having Bereishis in the Torah. It has to dafka be in the beginning of the Torah to tell us that Eretz Yisrael belongs to the Yidden. It's very important that the Torah starts this manner. And the question is why? Okay, base. Now, the Rebbe says like this in base. We have to understand. Since the Torah did not have to start, but only writing from where? From HaChedesh HaZalachem, as mitzad Torah lein dafür haschala sein nicht von Bereishis. Also das hat bechal nicht gedarf stehen in Torah. Befragt, as der Balamaimer is es madrish beloschen loi ella, was weiß as das is Likkutei. So the question is, now, since the Torah is saying that, the Rashi is saying, the Torah did not have to start only from HaChedesh HaZalachem, that really mitzad Torah didn't have to start from Bereishis. And what does the Balamaimer say? That Loi haya tzarich, which means that the wording is like it excludes an alternative manner. So wie kommt es als Libshela sein Ateine von Ummas Ha'elam, so man beiten dem Seder von Mikol shekin Meiser sein and Teire Shebechsav. So how could it be that just for the sake of like squashing the allegation from the Goyim, so the sequence of Teire Shebechsav should be changed and let alone a full section added? The Rebbe says, Nachmer, moreover, if them, wat lechede gewen genug, wenn me git iber dem enfer bal peh mider der. Lechede would have been sufficient if the answer to this claim had been passed on orally throughout the generations, as azay vi klalis ter shebal peh. That's how bechlal ter shebal peh works. And this, and like we find in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, the Gemara says, as Gvia ben Psisia hat verämpft die Taina von Bnei Africa. It says that the Gemara says in Sanhedrin that there was a man, Gvia ben Psisia, and he answered the Africans' Taina as Eretz Canaan Shalanohi. Met an andere hasbara. So this Taina that the Eden stole Eretz Yisrael is not a new Taina. This is actually recorded in the Gemara. From this person, from this individual, Gvia ben Psisia, who refuted the claim of the Africans that Eretz Yisrael belongs to us, and with a different explanation. Which doesn't say clearly in Teresh B'Chsav. It's Chelek Chaf, the first Sichah. And this is similar, and he continued to refute it when the claims of Yishmael and the descendants of Keturah that the land of Eretz Canaan, they're saying is ours and yours. Now, so what do you see from there? You see that they answered the Taina with a different. They answered this famous Taina with a different claim. So the Rebbe says is gefun gedrungen. Therefore, it's fair to assume as der Inyan from Parshas Bereishis is nicht nur an Antwort zu die Umas Ha'olam, nor das is an Inyan was is neged zu jeden Gufa in Zeir Teira v'Avedas Hashem. Therefore, it's fair to assume that the reason why the Torah opened with Bereishis is not only to refute the claim of the Goyim, but also for a reason relating to the Yidden themselves. In other words, concerning their understanding of Torah and Avedis Hashem. Was damit wird men euch verstehen dem Tam, was in dem Posik, was wird gebracht im Maimer Reb Yitzchak, koyach meisiv higel la'am and losses lahem nachas goyim, wird nicht der Mond, as das is an Antwort zu Umas Ha'olam. Now, this can explain also when Rashi quotes Reb Yitzchak's statement that the power of his act, he told to his people to give them the estate of the nations, does not present this as to retort the Goyim, but rather, what does it say? It says, nor higid la'am moi. It says he told to his people, which implies that keach ma'isiv higid la'am is negayat yidin alein. That this power of his act, he told to his people, is relevant to the Jewish people themselves. As Yidden soll nicht trachten, als durch sehr kibush von Artes Shivas HaGoyim, seinen sie listim. In other words, that the Goyim themselves, which is so apropos to what's going on now mamash in Eretz Yisrael. This is what Rashi is telling us, that to prevent the Yidden themselves thinking that we are bandits for having conquered the land of the 7 nations. So the Torah is telling us right away in the beginning, as Bereishis bar Likim, the Eibusher says that the Bereishis bar Likim. So what the Rebbe is saying in Beis is that the Torah is starting from Bereishis to be Shelo, the Taina of the Goyim. It's not only for the Goyim, that the Goyim have a question. It's for us, that we should be confident in that we should know that Eretz Yisrael belongs to us, and we shouldn't be insecure or have to be on edge that maybe Taka they're right, maybe the Eretz Yisrael does belong to them. So that's why it's so important that the Torah starts with Bereishis. And the Rebbe will explain in Gimel more of this concept. Okay, Gimel. We'll understand this based on what the Tzemach Tzedek's deeper explanation on this statement. Now, this is a Tzemach Tzedek, it's brought in Orah Torah, Parshas Boy, and the Tzemach Tzedek says as follows: Kavashtem Arze Shivas HaGoyim meint Beruchnius, dem Kibush, der Avodah von Yidden, in the Arzes Bechlal in Welt. He says the conquests referred in what the Goyim are saying, that you conquered the land of the 7 nations, so that's spiritually concerned to the Avodah of Yidden, while in the lands and in more general in the world at large. B'shas Yidden zanen koivish, ze nemen und nutzen yonei ha'olam, divdei ha'reshus l'shem shemayim. So Beruchnius, when Yidden now conquer the inyone of the world, in other words the reshus, and they use that l'shem shemayim, machmen ze ois goyish. So they make the davar reshus, they make it it's not goyish anymore. Afilu nitvachendik. Not even, it doesn't even become like weekday. Nor tashmishe kedusha, davar shebekdusha. Kedusha biz kodesh kedoshim. Rather, it's no longer that these things exclusively are in the domain, let's say, of the Goyim, or even just a mundane domain. They become like articles used for, first of all, holy purposes within the domain of holiness, and then they become Kodesh Kedoshim and Kodesh, and then Kodesh Kedoshim. Now, so that's what it means Shekavashtem. What does it mean Shekavashtem Esaretz? That we are taking the Inyoni Ha'olam and we're being mahapachet to Davar Shebek Kedusha. If them is the Taina from Umas Ha'olam, with this lies the accusation of the world. Listematem. The Goyim say that we are bandits. Now, what does it mean, Beruchnis? What are the Goyim saying? You are bandits. What the Goyim are saying, Al derech v'yishteit the Medrash. This is like what the Medrash says. As Yaakov Esav haben sich zetelt mit die Olamais. Yaakov hat genommen Olam haba and Esav Olam hazeh. It's like the Medrash says that Yaakov and Esav appointed amongst themselves possessions in the different worlds. Yaakov took Olam haba, while Esav took Olam hazeh. Now, Ubemela is Lloyd Umas Olam de'avodah von dem Kibush durch welchem is Marchel Gvul HaKdusha ha'inyan from Zela. So the Goyim or in Avodah, what does it mean? The conquest that the conquest is broadening the boundaries of holiness, and they are claiming that by us broadening the boundaries of holiness, that's a gzela, that's a robbery. So what do we say? If them is the answer, so what does Hashem say? Bereishis bara elikim. What's the rebuttal? How do we rebuttal this claim? We say Bereishis bara elikim. In other words, that the entire world belongs to the Eibishter. And Mimcha as Mimcha Akel, Kol Arshal Kadosh Baruch Hu, He who bra Unaslam Lashiyasher Beinav. That the entire world belongs to Hashem, and He created it, and He gave it to the one who was proper in His eyes. Das was die Sachen haben sich gefunden, Kedem Bevedes Adam in der Schuss von die Umais von Chol Akapanim, Chul Akapanim is nur weil Bertzeni Naslam Lahem. Es ist gewend im Ebershens Ratzen. As besibes achet von Eitzadas, so is gegeben geworden. So what we're saying to the Goyim is the fact that the nations possess certain things, or certain things at any rate, belonging to the mundane before anyone had engaged in Avodah, was only because His will He gave it to them, and it was Hashem, because of due to the sin of the Eitzadas, that these objects be given to them, and Ober das gufas b'chtei as denach. Why does Hashem do this? Is b'tzein not lahem and not lanu. Hashem wants to take it from them and give it to us. The Eibishter will as Yidden sollen zurücknehmen von sie die Sachen und umkehren in Gvul HaKdusha. Hashem wants us to take the mundane from the Goyim and bring it to Kedusha. This is given the way it was before the sin. Durch the Avodah Kibush von Yidden through the Yidden conquering. So basically that's the claim. Baruch is what's the claim? The Goyim are saying, who gives you the right to take in Yonei HaRishus and marchiv it to Kedusha? Hashem put in Yonei Chol in the world, leave it the way it is. Why are you messing around with it? So what do we say? We say no. Hashem, l'chatchila, everything was Kedusha. But because of the Hashem took it because of the Chet Itzadas and put it in the mundane. But what does the Eibishter really want? The Eibishter wants that we should take it and be mahapachet. This is also the meaning of the teaching. You should not have begun the Torah, but from Achedesh Hazelachem. Torah is hecher from Ma'aseh Bereishis. Torah is higher than the creation of the world. Torah really is loftier than creation, includes even the Aveda conducted within the works of creation, or worldly matters, the Aveda of conquering. Now, when a Yid learned Torah, or the Tuta Mitzvah, is be'eis ma'isa anangetan and adavar shebekdusha and is hecha von yonei ha'olam. When a Yid does a mitzvah, and he's so involved in the mitzvah and adavar shebekdusha, so he's higher than the world. However, when a Yid is involved in Yonei HaRishus, even let's say he's going to business or he's doing things and it's all L'Shem Shemaim, he wants to use it for godly purposes. It still remains your work and your ways. And Yonei HaRishus zu welcher mensch is misave mitzad gufe v'kiyume v'chiyus mitzad nafshei bahamas. This is, it's still, even if it's permissible, it's still part of the person's desire for his own body, existence of life, and it all stems from the animalistic soul. So the only way that a Yid could be really higher, I mean, this is right to what we're speaking about, that the Rebbe was always pushing about Miftzayim and Torah and mitzvahs. Why? Because when you're involved in Yanei HaRashus, so it's all stemming, even though it's good things, but it's all stemming from the Nefesh HaBamis. When a Yid is doing a mitzvah or Torah and he's involved in Davar Shebekdusha, he's higher than the world. Now, like dem beer, so now, based on this, so that's what the Tzemach Tzedek explains. So like der beer, vert aber noch starker die Shaila Nasif Aleph Matam Pasuk Bereishis. So based on what the Rebbe brings down from the Tzemach Tzedek, so now the question is, why did this start with Bereishis is even stronger? If the Aveda of conquering is lower than Torah mitzvahs, is emes taka as das muss stehen terech dem soll wissen, as darf sein die Aveda, und es nicht kein Inyan von listem. So for sure we have to know about the Aveda. In order that we should know that we're not bandits. Wie kommt es aber as das soll sein die haschalo Sichah von Torah? If the Aveda of kibush is lower than Torah, so why would the Torah start with that? What's kedime besed in Torah, vice of kedime b'mayla. The fact that the Torah prefaces with something is because in order, in Maila, it's higher, Baruchnius. So the question is why? All right, so tomorrow.